Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Today, I would like to make the announcement that I'm coming back to YouTube. It has been a year since I have uploaded anything and since I have done anything with Linux. I decided to take a step back. I took a break, and it was well deserved, in my opinion. And so, in this video, I want to address the three main talking points that I have. The first one being, where have I been? What do I use now? And what are my future plans in regards to Linux, as well as my channel? And so, if you can't tell already, this is what I consider to be a long form video, because just be warned that it's probably going to be some rambling, and everything is not going to be edited out in regards to pauses or ums and things like that. The only thing I'm going to do is trim up the beginning and trim up the end, but that's really about all I hope to do. And I know that some of you have requested for me to do long form content in the past, and so going forward, we'll probably be doing more long form content. But let's go ahead and get started with the video. So, where have I been? Well, to answer this question is going to be kind of rambly, because it's not just one thing. In fact, the day after I uploaded my last video was the day I decided to go back to Windows. And I've been with boring old Windows for like the last year. But the reason why I did that was because of a few things. One, I got tired of not being able to use my hearing aids when it came to my computer, because that was very convenient for me, where I could just put in my hearing aids and just listen to the audio through there. And while audio relay did work, I didn't want to always have to rely on it, because it's not exactly the most ideal situation. Like when I made that video, it was like, if you have a Bluetooth device that you can't get connected, or you have in my case was hearing aids, that was the biggest reason I used audio relay. But even then, it was still difficult, and I wish I could have gotten it right the first time with Bluetooth. But I was told in the comment section of my audio relay video that it probably had something to do more with my hardware than it did anything. Because yes, it did connect once or whatever, so it wasn't the Bluetooth's fault. It was really just my setup. And I don't know what it's like at this point, but I could try it at some point to see if the Bluetooth works on this laptop, but I'll get more into what do I use now later on. But the biggest thing about that particular topic is that I do suffer from mild hearing loss, and so I wear my hearing aids not as much as I used to, but I do wear them sometimes, just because it helps out with clarity and things like that. But yeah, that was the straw that broke the camel's back when I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do with it. And it was already difficult to begin with, just to be able to access FL Studio, which is a Windows program. But I wasn't having that rough of a time. I don't know if that's a optimal solution, or if I just need to have a separate computer just for Microsoft Teams in case I need it for my job, or in case I want to make music with it and I don't have to struggle a lot with it. I've been thinking about that, but we'll see. We'll see as time goes on, because I do enjoy Linux, and I would rather do as much as I can with Linux than I would with Windows. And in fact, I actually read something the other day where I could use Microsoft Teams on the web browser. I don't know how well that works though, and I would have to try it out with someone before I just tried it out with my job, because it's my job, and actually really what it comes down to is that my job ironically uses Linux, but I have to use Microsoft Teams if I'm talking with a supervisor or something like that, and if it's an interview, for example. So that would be the only reason I would have to use Linux at this point. If it's not for music, it would be for Microsoft Teams. But we'll see about the music aspect of it. Anyway, so yeah, it got to a point where I did get burnout, and there's this thing about me, because of my autism, that sometimes I'll get obsessed into a certain topic, Linux being that topic, and I will delve deep into it and just obsess over it. And then I will eventually burn out, and it just becomes this vicious cycle that I get into. And I either sometimes don't come back from it, or I will eventually come back to it. And in this case, I eventually came back to Linux. And it just, a couple of days ago, I woke up from a deep sleep, and all of a sudden Linux was on my mind. Because the day before, I was trying to figure out what is something that I could do in order to pass the time. Because these days, what I do is I work, and then I just have time to myself. And while, yes, I do enjoy that leisure time, it also leaves me with periods in which I'm bored. So I'm like, I got to fill the time. And now that I have figured out my schedule and figured out everything going on with my life, I'm able to come back to Linux and tinker like I used to, and to be able to help people out with their Linux setups. It's just one of those things where now I can come back. I can safely and confidently come back, not this, I'm just going to do it whenever I can and then never do it, But yeah, that's pretty much where I've been. I took a break, and the reason I went to Windows is because, it did become an obsession to work with Linux, and I just had to step back for a second. And what's more limiting than Windows, right? So I went back to it, and during that year, I basically just watched YouTube. I didn't really do anything with my computer, and I didn't even, the last 4 or 5 months, I didn't even do anything with my computer. But I've gotten to a point where now like I said, I feel more confident about coming back to the space and being able to provide more content and to be able to tinker the way that I want to tinker and all that good stuff. And, just not have life in the way, because life did get in the way for a little while. And, as well as my mentality got in the way of that, but I'm glad to be back. And, let's get into the next topic, which is, what do I use now? So over here on the left-hand side, you can see my fast fetch. It is not as customized as I once had it, just because I'm trying to figure out if I want that old setup that I used to have. And so, I don't know. I'm still just I'm content with my fast fetch. But what's odd, well, I guess it's not odd, because when NeoFetch died, it didn't really die, it just stopped having updates. But when NeoFetch stopped having updates, people went to FastFetch because it was being updated constantly. And so I was able to come out with videos telling people how to do this and how to do that, and it seemed to have garnered a lot of attention. And I am very grateful that people were able to watch my content, but I'm also very happy with the fact that it has helped people out in their builds. And, what more could I really ask for? But these days, back in the day, I used to use a desktop. Now I use a laptop. And I had a it really wasn't a dilemma. It was more I thought about it for 30 seconds and came up with my decision. But when I come back, I was trying to figure out if I was going to use Debian or Arch. And I do want to make a video about this eventually, about best distros, In fact, I'm going to write that down right now. About best distros. And really, to make a long story short, I would say that personally for me, it's going to always come down between, do I want to use Debian or do I want to use Arch? And I thought about, what am I going to be doing the most? And my answer was that I'm going to be tinkering. I'm going to be customizing. That is a huge aspect, if not the most important thing to me when it comes to Linux, is being able to customize my computer experience. And so I, I decided to go with Arch. Like, yes, there are probably going to be times where I'm going to want to throw my computer out the window, but it's nothing that I can't handle. And what's the worst that could happen? If I have my files backed up, but then something just goes wrong with this computer, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm just going to reinstall Arch and then just, start from scratch. But I didn't go with Debian because it just come down to like my window manager. My window manager actually was the deciding factor in what I was going to do. And it was, am I going to use AwesomeWM like I had been doing in previous videos? Or in other words, am I going with Xorg or X11? Or am I going with Hyprland or aka Wayland? And I actually shouldn't word it like that. It's actually more like Wayland, and then Hyprland being the window manager. So I don't know. I think some of you are gonna probably be like, "Well, it's a compositor," but you get what I mean. It was one of the two, and I decided that I was gonna go with Hyprland. Just explore a little bit of it, and it was like, I also want to get into a video about that, about the Hyprland discussion, because like these days people are jumping ship from using Xorg and going to Wayland. Like people's jumping ship because it's newer, and like that's what people are gathering to. And one of the things that you'll come to find, or at least for me it was, is that when you start working with computers specifically, you want to use something that everyone else is using. And the reason you want to do that is because you will get the most help from that, because there's going to be people who are using the software that are also going to express any situations that they come across, and there's going to be people, just as many people out there that is going to try to help others. So like, especially I think that's why people recommend Ubuntu a lot of times, is because of that fan base, or that user base rather. And while it's not necessarily the wrong thing to do, like I don't care for Ubuntu simply because of these hiccups here and there that they have that they never can seem to get fixed. But they've got a large user base, and people are able to contribute to ideas and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so I just I was like, I don't know, do I want to spend the rest of my career talking about AwesomeWM, especially since people are going to Wayland, or do I want to do something where like people are talking about it like this is what's now, this is what's good? And that's not to say that AwesomeWM wasn't great, because I was able to make several videos out of that, being able to help out with like widgets and stuff like that, and also being able to help out with their layouts and whatever else when it came to that. I felt like I have run out of topics to talk about when it comes to AwesomeWM. Like, I don't know what else I could do for that. And Hyprland is still kind of new to me, but at the same time, I don't really know what to talk about in regards to Hyprland. But yeah, if I haven't said it before, I do have a comment section that you're more than welcome to ask me any questions, or you can give me some video ideas on what to do next. You can also go to my Discord to do that. On my Discord, however, there's also people that you can talk to that are also in the Linux space, and you can also post your risings and all that good stuff there. So good show. But yeah, as I said before, I went with Arch Linux, and I'm currently using Hyprland, obviously Wayland, but yeah, and I'm also using my laptop. For some weird reason, they decided to go with like a 1920 by 1200. I don't quite get that, other than like, yeah, it gives you more space on your computer, but to view things, but like it doesn't help out when I'm recording something from OBS. You know what I mean? So like there's going to be these black bars that are on the sides of my videos now because of like I could stretch it out. I don't like the idea of stretching out the video for the sake of 1920 by 1080. So yeah, and then of course I am running and you can find all this on the left hand side of this screen, by the way. Went back to Open Dyslexic Nerd Font. It's always been my go-to font just because I am also dyslexic. It helps out tremendously. CPU and GPU for that matter, I decided to go with Intel. This thing is like, I think, I know the turbo frequency is like 3.4, but most of the time it doesn't run but like at 1 to 3%. So my CPU is actually doing really good. I haven't really tested out my GPU yet. It's probably not the best graphics card, but I was told that, as long as I can do what I want it to do, like I don't necessarily do as much gaming as I used to, so, take that with what you will. 16 gigs of RAM, and then I've got like a terabyte of I think they said it was an SSD. I'd have to look back at the thing, but I'm pretty sure it's an SSD that I'm working with as far as the hard drive goes. But yeah, this is just a laptop that I got that because I wanted to downgrade. Well, I say downgrade. This was actually more of an upgrade from my old computer in most ways. But I was like, I don't want to have to go to my desktop in order to do things anymore, because I already have issues with like sitting for long periods of time or standing for long periods of time. And when I get obsessed into a certain topic, I tend to do that. So, just because there wasn't a whole lot of room, I wanted something that was something that I could like carry around with me if I needed to or whatever, and it just worked out. So yeah, I think that's about all that I can say about what do I use now, and what are my future plans. So my future plans is I don't know yet. The only thing that I do know for sure is that I'm coming back. I have been thinking or pondering on the idea that here and there I might do some retro gaming in regards to live streaming. But then I also, I have like 2 video ideas so far. It would be helpful, like I said, if you guys had some feedback that you could give me as far as like maybe something that I could make a video on, something that you want to see or something like, and it may not even be like regarding to hyprland. It could be anything Linux. Like I just want to start making content again. That's the only thing that I do know. I want to start making Linux stuff, but I also understand that sometimes there's not going to be Linux content. And that's okay, because I don't always have to do Linux content. I can do some gaming content, but the one thing that I don't want to do is Windows content. As long as there's no Windows content, we're good. We're good? Yeah, we're good. Yeah, you kind of have to be because I'm making the content here. But yeah, I think I have talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. I want to thank you all for the support that you've given me, for all the views, all the subscribers, and for just being there for me. I really do appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do for you guys, just reach out to me. I'm on Discord. I've got a comment section. I believe I even have a X, formerly known as Twitter, account that you could also go to. But with that being said, this has been Zipix, and I will see you guys in the next video.